Hi, we're live. Welcome to another episode of VONSense. My name is George Passarello. I'm with my partner, Joey Quadera. Say hi, Joe.
Hello.
And today we have Boby Digi and Lisa McFarland. They joined us to talk about the North Shore, Staten Island, and why you need to go there and visit their new restaurant, and also why you need to go to the North Shore to get some really good food. So hang tight. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about the North Shore. Today, we're really happy to have with us. Oh, my name is George Passarello.
I'm Joe Quadera.
We've been getting a lot of questions about Facebook marketing from our friends, businesses, family, cousins, sister's cat, dog. I don't know what a cat's dog is, but I guess a cat can have a dog. Welcome to another episode of VONSense.
Today, wait a minute. Why do you have headphones and I don't got headphones? I just want to know.
I'm a fan of Jimmy's. I used to watch The Man Show, and I thought it was, the greatest thing on earth because they had girls in bikinis jumping on trampolines. There's always a lot of talk about these questions. They're the Prost or Proust or Proust or Proust.
Another Vladimir Putin came into the conversation, and George had said, "Car troubles Putin you down." Paul Barry's,
and it was during the whole Trump controversy.
Right, but it was really edgy.
Nobody really cares about Putin. He's in Russia. He's not here.
It's one with George and Joe. All right, we're back. So, as with all VONSense podcasts, we always like to let everyone get to know our guests and what they're about and who they are. And I'm not even going to do the Proust thing again this time and figure out how to pronounce that guy's name. But there's some questions that we plucked off the internet because we're really smart Googlers. And they're designed to, get to know somebody. So I'm going to let Joe start with the first question for Lisa.
All right, fair enough. So I feel like one of the best ways to get to know you better is to learn about your occupation. So what has been or what is your favorite occupation?
Well,
Into the mic.
this is obviously a passion that I have with the bar. It's always been a lifelong dream, but I've also done other things. Other passions I have are working with children. I currently teach ESL to children in China over the internet every morning.
Oh, wow.
What's ESL?
English as a second language.
Oh.
So it's an immersion course. So the children actually are learning English without speaking any Chinese as well. So it's completely 100% English language that they're learning over the internet.
And do you speak the other languages?
No, I don't.
Wow.
No.
So how do you do that, actually?
Through TPR, which is total physical response, where you're showing using hand gestures, motioning things,
Cup.
Exactly, showing them pictures or holding up objects and getting through to them that way.
That's how Rosetta Stone does it, actually. That's pretty interesting. That's how I learned Spanish.
So that's one of the things that I have a passion for also, is working with children in addition to the restaurant.
You said you were boring. You lied to me.
I told you.
That's great. I think that's a pretty special job, too, and it's really important, especially nowadays, getting everybody. I wish I could speak more languages. You speak any?
Oh.
Both of you, either one of you.
Yes. I know some. I took sign language, so I know some sign language.
That's cool.
I took a few semesters going back several years ago.
Oh, well, that's cool. What about you, Bobby?
So I speak.
Get a little closer if you can.
So I lived in Ecuador, Guayaquil, for about a year, where I studied at the Universidad de Católica. So I learned conversational Spanish there, and through some of my workers who I have to communicate with in Spanish. I also lived in Tokyo for 8 years, so I speak Japanese.
I spent some time in Tokyo.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a magical place.
We gotta talk about that.
Yeah, we're about to.
Yeah, I had the first indie US label there, which I partnered up with another major label, and was there for 8 years. So I speak some Spanish, and then I went to school in Africa, Nigeria. So I speak 2 Nigerian languages.
We're going to need a longer podcast.
There are 3 major languages there. There's Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. So I speak Hausa because I lived in the northern part, and my heritage is Yoruba. We're Yoruba, so I speak that broken, but I do speak it.
Yeah, that was me in Japanese. It was that's the hardest language. 2 years of lessons I took Japanese. I can
Man, I thought it was.
I can basically order a beer and probably call your sister a cow by accident. You know, that's about the best I can do.
Yeah. What part of Tokyo did you live?
I was in Toyota City. I worked for Toyota, so I went to Toyota City, and then we spent some time in Tokyo as well. But mostly Toyota City, and they had somebody attached to me the whole time. Was it the same for you?
Oh, no. I mean, I lived in Gotanda, so I had my company there. But, I mean, we were staffed by 60% Japanese, and I hired expats that were there, you know, from Australia, from Europe, and Gotanda.
I wish I knew you then. I would have been able to
It
stay.
was so fun.
I would have come work for you.
It was phenomenal.
I loved my time there. I've been in twice for a couple of months at a clip. And well,
When were you there? When were you posted there?
2001 or two.
Yeah, I settled in. So I graduated 2000 College of Staten Island, and I moved over shortly after. So I was there 2000 into like the 8s, and I came back to fully settle.
Yeah, and you know, I took to that city so quickly. It felt like New York. It felt like a cartoon of New York, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. You know, yeah. It was everything was just grandiose and hyper and lights. I mean, if I had, I'm surprised it didn't cause seizures walking around the street out there.
But you get, I got a lot of my creative juices from living in Tokyo though.
Yeah, I can imagine because they're very rigid in their daily lives, and they're very organized, and everything happens until the switch gets flipped, and then it's the complete opposite. It goes to chaos.
The nightlife is super wild, though.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah,
Really?
actually, they followed me around. I didn't get to enjoy a lot of it because they kept saying, "You can't go there. You can't go there. You can't go there."
But they made sure you drank.
Oh, in the office, they had Jack Daniels in their desk.
They get wasted over there.
All right, so now you get to ask Bobby one of those questions.
No. All right, let's see what we got. All right, that's an easy one that I like a lot too. What's your greatest achievement?
Wow, I would have to say my 4 sons.
Yeah.
I have 4 sons. My eldest is 18. He's in year 3 of mechanical engineering NYU, so he's the brainiac. The one after him, Arthur. The first one's Othello. The second one's Arthur. He's an athlete, soccer player. He just started his own clothing line now. He's working on that. It's called 777. My third son, he's brilliant as well. He's a DJ. He's a producer. He's been producing and DJing about 3.5 years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then my last born, Prince, who Corey Johnson just tweeted. I think he tweeted out a photo of him and himself, So he's smart too. He's growing healthy.
Awesome.
Thank God. I would say. I've a lot of accomplishment to talk about, but hands down, my 4 sons are like what I'm most proud of, and being a dad,
That's pretty admirable. Me and my friends always said, no matter what happens, the second I have a kid,
that's
very few things are going to matter.
That's
very
it.
few things. So.
And that's why I'm a selfish bastard. I don't have.
Let me tell you, if not for my sons, the community work I do, I don't know if I would be as involved as I am. Right?
Wow.
I probably would be off on some island growing my locks and beard, but because I want to see a better world for them to inherit and live in, that propels me to do like Lisa as well. I do a lot of youth empowerment activities and just mentorship, for over 20 years in the borough. So yeah, my sons are like my pride and joy.
It's a solid answer.
Yeah,
I like that.
I love that answer. And you guys going to take a look at that. You get to ask me or Joey one of those questions.
Yeah, one of your own
So
accolades,
Joey, let's jump in right quick.
All right, let's get it.
So Joey, what are your aspirations? Like you said that you and your friends talked about, if you had. So are you going to be getting married soon? Are you settling down? What are you doing?
Well,
good looking guy, might find you if you're not already tied, might find you somebody through this podcast.
Quick disclaimer, I'm not not tied, so
Hook 'em
that's
up.
not there. No, but right now my biggest focus, to be honest with you, is work and the nonprofit that I've started. So I'm really focusing on that a lot. But the end goal is to become a business owner, which is something I told George, day one, and
You're going to own this one because I got about 4 years left in me.
Well, there you go. There's the more specific
So
goal.
invest, stay invested.
And then the other is definitely to have a family. So I'm very family oriented. Grew up, around tons of cousins, tons of aunts and uncles, and that's a huge deal for me. So.
Yeah. Now we talked about something. Oh, well, go ahead. You get
I
one
was gonna
more
ask,
question.
What is the nonprofit about?
Yes.
So the nonprofit I started is in my grandfather's name, the Manfredi Movement. It's called.
I should preface this with your age, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that, but I'm
that's
going to. He's 22 years old, so go ahead. It's
So-
important.
Well, you carry yourself well. I'll tell you that much.
I appreciate it.
Your mannerism. I could respect that.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I think it's
You're
from being
poised
around.
for success.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So the charity, the goal obviously was a quick story. I started working here as soon as I got out of college, and I felt so lucky to have a job because a ton of my friends really just couldn't find a job. I spent all this money on college. I said, let me give a portion of my first check as a working man away to a charity. On social media, I said to my friends, give me some suggestions for charities that are close to your hearts, and maybe I'll give a small portion toward it. And it grew into a bigger idea of maybe helping, a bunch of charities every month, maybe one a different month, or this way we don't have a specific mission, but we can actually help a lot of people on the
That's
island.
fantastic.
And now my overall goal, within that is to kind of get younger guys like me involved, because quite frankly, nobody gives.
What's the name? What's the name of the charity?
What's the
The
name of the
Manfredi
charity?
Movement, it's called.
Manfredi Movement.
So Joe Manfredi was my grandfather. That's where the idea came from,
Yeah.
and he was a big inspiration of mine.
Great guy.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I know your Is that your dad or?
He was my grandfather. He passed away
Okay.
about 3 years ago.
So his son's your dad.
Is my uncle.
Okay.
Sorry, it's
gotcha.
a big family.
Yeah. I know.
A big family. But yeah, Nick's my uncle, and then there's 4 sisters. So I have about 20-something cousins, and that's where the family stuff comes
And one of your cousins, a rapper. What's his
Vici.
name? Vici.
Vici.
Oh yeah, you know
Vici.
Vici.
Vici was one of the young. I used to try to keep him out of trouble.
Yeah, he needs that.
Vici loves Stapleton.
Yeah.
So he was in and out of Stapleton.
Yep.
Dope freestylers, because I used to own a lounge, Notes Lounge, and all the rappers came into mind.
Right.
I was using that as a platform to really reach in a without them knowing.
Right.
But Vici would come through. We'd talk about, he had this clothing company he was going to start, and
he had a hat club.
he
a hat
was
store.
always in Stapleton and Park Hill.
Yeah.
Only like one of the white kids you would see.
Yeah, well, he's
Comfortable.
Italian, going by Vinny Vici.
Comfortable.
like,
He
anymore.
was comfortable, but he
Yeah.
was. What I liked about him, he was himself though.
Right.
He was himself, and he got along.
He's the one who
It's a
came
small
to the
world.
Jersey Street Merchant Association Christmas. Yeah, he's a nice kid.
He had one of my. Not just saying this because I'm talking about him. He has the biggest heart of anybody
Yes,
I
he
know,
does.
and he
Yes,
has
he
a
does.
lot of work ethic. So
Yes, he does.
we are always talking about different
Yeah.
ways that we can
Yeah.
make money and this and that. And his rapping thing is something that.
Where
comes
is he
about.
now? Anyway, I haven't
Right
seen
now,
him in a
he
while.
just moved into a house. He's got 3 beautiful kids, and
God
he
bless.
just got married. So
God bless.
he's doing well.
That's good.
He's doing well. But that's funny that you know him. Staten Island's too small.
Known him maybe 15 years now,
Really?
or longer maybe.
Really.
So now, this might be a good time to segue into how do we keep this kid from moving off Staten Island? Now, I'm a Staten Island lover. I have a passion for this island. We're misrepresented on television, right?
You know what I'm saying?
We're shown as, mafiosos, Guidos, and that reputation bothers me because that is not who lives here, right?
not at
It's
all.
not the primary of who lives here, at least not anymore. Maybe when I was a kid, but my world was pretty small till I moved off Staten Island for a while. You don't know any better, How do we convince someone like Joey? Well, first, why don't you tell him? You don't mind talking about it,
Tell,
right?
sure.
tell us your situation.
Yeah, why do you
And
wanna
we'll,
leave?
Let's get into it.
Well, yeah.
So, obviously, I know so many amazing people in Staten Island, and just through the charity work and business, I'm starting to see that Staten Island people give them more than anyone I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable. But the problem is, to be honest, is the generation that I'm in going out and the nightlife is very tough for me because I just, and this is mostly South Shore, to be honest. I grew up in the South Shore, and I'm finding just a lot of kind of egotistical people.
Hey, how you doing? You all right?
and listen,
You stepped on my sneaker.
it's rough, yeah, little small stuff like that. And I always tell the story. I went to a bar in the South Shore. I won't name it. And in an hour's time, there was a fight, a drug bust, and the place
Wow.
closed down. And I said, this is just not where I want to be. So, and I'm not generalizing in Staten Island because the North Shore is obviously, you know, a whole new world.
Yeah.
But it's been tough for me to I'm always going off the island to go out to the city, and it's tough to get there. Other boroughs.
But if you move to the North Shore, it's very
Get a
easy
little
to
closer,
to the
Lisa.
city. Because you're right by the ferry. You're right by the ferry. You have public transportation once you get over the ferry. So the North Shore is very ideal for traveling pretty much to any other place.
It's definitely something I consider. I mean, we talked about it when you were there.
Yeah,
You
man.
know,
I
was
just
looking
hopped
to
on a
apartments.
ferry and I was in the city in minutes, or I could go down the corner and I can get 7 different types of food. And you know what's great about the North Shore? Every restaurant doesn't sell veal marsala, chicken marsala, chicken franchise. Some of the
sauce.
best food and some of the best nightlife exists on this North Shore. And then you know, so how do we convince him not to leave? What do we have to do to help Staten Island become a place where this doesn't happen? And it's not going to be, you know, an easy answer. I know that.
You know what's interesting about where you're at is that I feel that many of us at one point or the other have thought about, even for me, you know, like after spending, and when I came back from Japan, I could have lived anywhere.
Right.
But you know, like I did some growing up on Staten Island. I just and the lifestyle here sort of reminded me of Tokyo. You know, it's kind of a mix of both. You know, fast and slow. But the beauty of Staten Island that I could share with you as somebody that's a little older is that first of all, if you move off Staten Island, you're gonna be paying a lot more. So you're gonna be working much harder.
That's for sure.
And you'll find that you're not really enjoying yourself as much because you're gonna be working to maintain
The lifestyle.
the lifestyle and expense. That's one. So hands down, you're gonna get your best.
That is a great
bang for your buck
analogy.
in the borough in terms of. But like this, I know folks that are moving from Brooklyn to Staten that I'm actually even helping out. You know, who are being priced out of just about every neighborhood in Brooklyn. So what you would be paying for a 1-bedroom, say $2,500, that's a mortgage. You know, if you look and get a 1 family, or if you get a 3-bedroom, you know, you can get for that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you could pretty much on the North Shore, you could find the most diverse in terms of cultural, ethnic, you name it. It's a melting pot right now. I feel.
That's actually a big thing I've been looking for, and I see that a lot
Diversity.
more. I mentioned Brooklyn,
Yeah.
only because, you know, Bay Ridge is obviously have, you know, probably a lot of Staten Islanders, but the diversity level is just it's so much different.
For sure. So,
And I think you'll find that on the North Shore. So maybe look around over there.
Yeah, I
Joe.
mean,
It's stick close, buddy.
And here's a final advice, and then I'll let Lisa get in. Here's what I would suggest to you. Before moving off, you haven't tried the North Shore, right?
No.
So before making a final decision, sample that and give it some time and then see, because you don't want to move off the island, right?
Right.
Experience that and say, well, I don't like this. And by the time you come back, the prices are gonna, you know. So what you've done is you've invested money to figure out, you know, you've paid for an experience where you can pretty much experience it for free right where you're at and where you're from.
Well, let me ask you a question. This might be a tough one, but so right now I'm living at home. I have no expenses. I'm at super South Shore, almost on the outer bridge, basically, right? So, and I agree with that idea. Do you think that the lifestyle between the South Shore and the North Shore in terms of diversity, maybe nightlife, would be different enough that you, if you were in my shoes, would value it and it would be worth paying rent?
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, I would say yes, but I could expand on that further and say, you know, ultimately, and like you said, you don't have much of an overhead or expense now. Again, trying the North Shore, it's booming now, and especially with restaurants and galleries and activities. There's so much more now than there was even 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Right.
So in terms of expense, you're going to be spending a lot more to enjoy those activities and amenities versus to if you would move off the island and to leave home and jump out to a higher expenditure, you're setting yourself up for failure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that
You
makes
want to
sense.
start small and then scale out. And I would encourage you to try to buy something if you have. If you're
Bank
first time
Definitely.
if you're a first time home buyer, there are loans and there's programs out there. You can buy something,
Right.
and that gives you basically an investment that you can start doing many things with.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hear all the time millennials can't afford to buy a home. Right now, the North Shore is kind of ripe for one of those investments that my mom got to have when she moved here that could triple, quadruple, 10 times in its value. I see it that way anyway. I don't.
That's how I was able to.
A little closer.
That's how I was able to, get into the real estate.
Right.
Was really buying instead of renting. And look, if you're thinking about futures, whatever you're looking to invest in is going to take hard work and sweat, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But you got to be willing to make the sacrifice. And you're 20, you're young, so this is the best time for you to thinking that way.
Bank cash right now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
don't
sense.
move out. Bank some cash. Buy something. Just like Bobby said, I think that's smart. So that could kind of segue us into Lisa, did you ask your question?
Did you?
Did I ask you a question?
Oh no, you're not. I
didn't.
mean, you could ask me or Joey one of the questions. You could ask me anything. I'm so raw and open it'll freak you out.
Let's see.
That's funny. That's funny.
There's so many.
I know, it's so hard to choose from.
Toss a coin.
Yeah, right.
We should throw some trick questions in there next
I
time.
think there are a lot of trick questions in here. All right. So, what is your motto?
My motto. Someone asked me this, and now I'm not going to remember, and I'm going to have two mottos.
Eat it or Henry's Publick.
And we're gonna get to that in a second. My motto is, I think I hate to do this, and I don't even like the company that uses this, but I swear it sticks in my head, is just do it. A lot of people talk, and you can have a bag of. How many ideas do you have, Bobby?
Shitloads.
How many can you execute? Right. So just do it.
Yeah.
Is my motto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get it done. If you pick one thing, focus on it, do it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
If you fail, you're going to get smarter than you ever were before. Probably more than you would if you succeeded.
Right,
That's a fact.
So just give it a shot. I've owned makeup stores, pharmacies. I've owned, what else have I owned?
Just about
Restaurants.
any business you can think of, George has been in.
I've tried it all. and
Every state.
That's good.
yeah. So it's interesting for me. Just try it. You never know how good you're going to be at something till you immerse yourself in it. So that's my motto. I like that question. Somehow everyone asked me that one too.
Yep.
So we're talking about the North Shore and the South Shore, and I know you guys are opening a Publick House, which is the official name of a pub, right?
Yeah.
The Publick House. Do you know the history behind Publick House?
Yes.
Share it with us.
Public houses years ago was people that were traveling, and because before there were cars, and they traveled by horses or on foot many years ago. So it was a place where the weary traveler could go in, get a good hot cooked meal, and they would have a place to stay. So the whole concept is so that we have some place where they're coming in, they're comfortable, they can have a good meal, they can relax for the evening, and and want to keep coming back for more.
So tell we're going to talk about, we're going to ask you about the details of this Publick House. But first, there's the how do we convince people from the South Shore to cross what we talk about this on almost every podcast we do, because I want to break that barrier, because I broke it and it's the happiest place on earth. How do we convince them, you're in the wrong spot. Don't go to Jersey. You don't need to go to Brooklyn. Stop. And the neighborhood that you guys are putting it in is ripe with beautiful restaurants, food. So talk a little bit about the neighborhood and what's going to be around your place, and then we can kind of get into your model and what people can expect when they get in there.
So I was at a community board 1 hearing 2 nights ago. We're talking about the future of the Bay Street corridor. Right now where our restaurant's situated is called Minthorn Street, which is like the next big thing as I see it. There's a bunch of development that's happening there, but Minthorn particularly why I like Minthorn and why we wanted to be part of it, if I could speak for Lisa as well, is that it's all a Staten Island local guys and gals that came together and they're investing in the community. Like the big boxes are great, you know.
Right.
Story I always think about is Port Richmond. Port Richmond was the main shopping hub many years ago. Then Staten Island Mall came and bumped it out. So I think it's important that Staten Islanders invest on and in Staten Island, right?
With other Staten Islanders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. That's the formula there. So I give Gary and Julie kudos for coming up and being intentional with who he
Programming
wanted.
that
Exactly.
space brilliantly.
So
And he put a park back there
yeah,
too.
there's
It's
a park
gorgeous.
back there. But here are the factors that makes there really super conducive. You have the major artery of transportation. Once you get off the ferry, you're either taking the train or the bus. So we're situated right at Victory and Bay, which is an intersection of everything. If you're going to Bay Street, further, going to Victory Boulevard, and then of course there's the Tompkinsville train station, which is right there also. So you can assess that street from any transportation point, train,
Right.
buses. If you're driving, there's plenty of parking, which most developments lack parking.
That's a big component.
Exactly.
for sure.
So we have.
I've never not gotten a spot there, actually.
We have our own private parking, and it's right where the critical mass will be amassed in the next couple of years. When you think about all the development that's slated, and with the rezoning of the Bay Street corridor, which I pray that they come up with a master plan for dealing with the transportation and traffic that we have now, it'll make it so much better. But what I want to say is that I think folks should stop driving. It should be like Italy. I love Italy because of the bike
Cool.
culture.
We were going to get to that too. 'Cause he's from
We
Italy.
need to start driving. We need to stop driving and start riding our bicycles and trains and the buses.
Yeah.
And we need to get the cars off of that area and off the
Yeah.
road.
So if I could paint a picture for someone that lives in Great Kills, you live in Great Kills,
I was
right?
gonna say.
And everyone's like, "Oh, that's so far." No, it's a 2-minute train ride. You can, if you imbibe in alcoholic products, you can get trashed without worrying. You get on the train, you take a beautiful ride, you have your night out right next to the train station. There's bar after bar, and a few blocks away is Vinham and the Richmond
the
and
Richmond, yeah.
these
La Caruana.
La Caruana.
Caruana's
I've
there.
been going there for a long time.
Yeah.
I think they sell goat out of the basement
Yes,
there,
they
right?
do,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
do, and that's where I got my goat for my party. So it's kind of hard to find on
And they
Staten
have
Island.
a Shirley Lincoln museum that's there. It's so eclectic, diverse, and rich with culture that look.
Walking distance. Like
Walking
you can
distance.
stroll it.
Yeah, and with the future promenade, the St. George promenade that's going to be built, it'll be like the South Seaport.
Yeah, and the Yankee Stadium. What else do
Exactly.
you need? So I encourage everyone to try that train
Star
ride.
Harbor.
Yeah, try the train ride.
You wanted to talk about the commute from Great Kills and why you're looking to move to the,
Right, I'm looking to move closer because when I drive down there every day, depending on the time of day, it can take me, I can get down there in 15 minutes, or I can wait, or
Torture.
it could take me an hour to get there
Yeah.
by depending on what time I leave. So if it's the middle of the afternoon, like at 2:00, can take me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to get down there.
Yeah.
It's
So
unbelievable,
it's
the
just much
traffic.
easier to live closer to the
Yeah,
area.
Staten Island. We could do a whole podcast on Staten Island traffic. we left here yesterday to go to La Fontana, which is on Amboy Road, which is 4 miles from here.
Maybe
Took us
less.
48 minutes to go 4 miles.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. So hopefully we get some politicians
You'd be
in
the
office
city
that
by
fix
then.
that. We'll see.
You'd be in the city
Yep.
You can get into the city, before, in 40 minutes. 40
Especially
to
from here,
35
we're right by the
minutes.
highway. We can get
Yeah.
to Brooklyn and the city quicker than we got to the
When I
North
lived
Shore.
on the North Shore, sometimes 20 minutes
That's
I'd be in the city,
Yeah,
right? If I took the
on a
tunnel.
Sunday, or something like that.
Yeah, it was nice. And so, we got to fix the transportation problems. But the beautiful thing about where you're putting your spot is you can walk right off the train. So I want to focus on that for everybody. Give that a try because it's a freeing night. If you've ever gone out with your car,
Yeah.
you're on edge.
That's right.
You're like, oh, I could have two. What time is it? What
Yeah.
time is it? What time is it? So take the train.
Take the train, eat. Lisa's great cooking.
So
drink
speaking of, let's
similar-
get into this now. So you're going to have food?
Yes.
Perfect.
So are you the chef?
Yes, they're all going to be my recipes, and everyone will be trained so that everything is consistent no matter what day of the week you come in.
What kind of food could we expect?
It's going to be British comfort foods mostly, so Welsh rabbit, bangers and mash, fish and chips, Scotch eggs.
Shepherd's pie?
Yes, we're going to do cottage pie, which is the variation with beef instead. So there'll be the cottage pie, the Guinness stew, all things along those lines.
That's pretty exciting. My pub the bar I owned wasn't too different than that. We had a very classic menu like that, and that's good home cooking. So have you been a chef before?
I've been in the industry in the past. I'm getting back into it because I was in it many years ago. I did catering. I worked in a restaurant. I did a lot of baking as well because that's another passion of mine is the baking end of it.
Are you going to be baking at the
yes,
restaurant?
Yes,
Yeah,
we're going to be doing all homemade desserts. We're going to have scones,
Do
different
you
scones
need
every day
people
of the
to make
week.
sure everything's okay? I
I
We need
also,
tasters,
I also make my own jellies. So I make my own preserves and jams. I make my own hot sauces and everything.
Yeah, it's a
So-
great feeling to cook for people. Right? When I owned my restaurant, I literally invested in it to learn how to be a chef at a restaurant because I love serving. I'm Italian too, and I don't want to put a culture on it, but food's everything in our culture. And we when we wake up in the morning, it's the breakfast has dessert. So for me, being able to serve and make a living, giving somebody a good time and a good meal, you're blessed if you can do that.
yeah.
It's hard, I'm
I
sure
think-
you
I
guys
think
know
food-
that.
I think food. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard. So Lisa, I trust completely with the food, and I've sampled. We're refining the menu, and she takes pride and passion in what she does, right? Which is why I was comfortable enough to go into a partnership. And it's kind of like with me, as a social, I'm a social, creature. I'm a socially active individual.
Social butterfly.
Social
He
butterfly.
was trying to not say that word.
I got it out.
They got it out.
I wasn't letting it go.
What's your most used word?
Social lion. Social lion.
I'm a social lion.
Social lion.
Social lion.
I'm a social lion.
Better than butterfly.
Sting like a bee.
Bang.
But no, I feel that the balance between the two of us is what will make the establishment successful. And I've had two places, nightlife venues, over the years that have been very successful in the borough. So I have a following from that. But also I'm very involved social-politically. So the people in our network are constantly looking for places to have meetings,
Right.
to go to eat. You talk about fundraisers, and like you, I'm into giving back and really supporting the community because that's what makes Staten Island beautiful and vibrant. And George, like you said, I'm a foodie. I love food. I love food. And one of the initiatives I created a few years ago was the restaurant crawl, which was very successful and was replicated in other towns in the borough.
Right.
And the
Oh, I
restaurant
copied it
logistics-
for the South Shore. You
It's
know
cool.
that. The
Couple- I know.
next year we
I know.
did it.
Even Anthony called up Anthony Rappatrue.
Yeah,
Said,
yeah, yeah.
Bobby,
Oh,
I want to use the concept. I said, dude, rock and roll.
I didn't even ask you. I just did it.
I'm used to it. But so I'm a foodie, and just from the years of experience with dealing with all the other restaurants, what we're offering, the English pub and the comfort of food, and just the vibe and the design, which I'm designing and putting the design structures and the layout together.
So
it's
we'll be looking at classic British.
classic British. So we have when you walk in, there's the restaurant and bar, which is again, it would ring English. So in our ceiling, we have a mural that's being hung with the Union Jack by someone that's another personality in the borough. Tyreek from Richmond Hood.
Yeah.
So Tyreek's doing the drop ceiling with the murals with the Union Jack flag. The bar I actually bought many years ago. That's the original bar from the Choir Loft.
Oh, shut up.
Yes.
I have grown up on that bar.
I'm sure you have.
I'm not even joking.
And I gotta tell you, since people found this out, we actually connected with the Quiet Loft reunion committee, which is 500 strong on Facebook, and they're on standby, ready to collaborate with us on the opening.
You know what I have in my possession, don't you?
What do you got?
I have
What do you got?
the Red Spot's outdoor bar.
Really?
Yeah, it's at my sister's house.
Wow.
You remember the Red Spot?
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
So anyway,
yes.
Choir Loft, Red Spot, and
Yeah.
this is what I see happening to Bay Street now in a more, even a classier way. Back then, it was a shit kicker. Every bar was pumping music, and you just went and had a party. Now it's a little more elegant, but it's the same feel.
Yeah, it's the same feel. I think what it is the times 2019, 2018. What you're getting is a richer Staten Island, obviously. Not richer in terms of dollars.
Culture.
Exactly. So that's reflective of what you're seeing.
Right.
And which is why I'm inspired and encouraged. I was talking to Julian, who owns Bezos.
Sure.
And a really good guy, a good friend of mine. And we were just talking about all the restaurants that are opening. And, what I respect is sustainability. It's easy to start something.
Real
You're
easy.
going to be able to sustain it. So I think if you focus on what will sustain your business, and if you operate from that standpoint,
So do you have a party room?
we do have a party room.
Speaking of sustaining a business, because
yes.
that's a heartbeat of a restaurant. If you
Yes.
if you're not
Yeah.
booking private parties, you're probably you're gonna
Absolutely.
struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the party room, what I did was I cut up the space. I made it work.
Yeah, it's
So-
either open if there's no party, closed if there is
absolutely.
one. Yeah? That's
But it
good.
was critical to have a party room. And so with the Choir Loft bar, what I then did was we have church pews.
I can't wait to see this bar.
So the church pews
No way.
from the First Central, the Baptist. It's a church on Wright Street. I can't remember the name right now. But so we restored the church pews, and we had an upholstery. We reupholstered the pews, and so just to add character. I want when you go in there, I want you to say, "Wow." I want for people to feel that this wasn't, going to IKEA and
Right.
This was really curated to continue to pique your interest while you're there as you eat and you enjoy the
So
environment.
it's gonna have an aged feel, like
Yes.
it's been there for 100
Yes,
years,
yes,
like
yes.
a pub should,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
I mean, give
and
them what they
that was
expect.
key for me. That was key. Like I like to do things with a certain flair to it, and people.
I'll
have come
attest to that, yeah.
you know, people have come to understand, and it's interesting. People have started to say that. Wow, we expect this, we expect that. So I think it's important, and that goes with the food. And I trust what Lisa is going to deliver, and that because she's very, very meticulous about it.
I can't wait to
And
try
I think
it.
that's critically important because just doing the restaurant core, that's what I've in surveying the restaurant owners, and I've been able to see what worked, what didn't work.
Well, that's actually something I was just going to ask. So, as an aspiring business owner and a younger person on the island, explain to me.
Keep rubbing that in, Joey.
We're like old over here.
He was the one who pointed out the age.
Hey,
You're right.
I'm young too. Hey, I'm young too.
Naturally.
It's all relative. You're young to me
I'm
too.
only 25.
Perfect.
I play a 7-year-old every single day on camera in China.
I like that. That was
That's
good.
interesting. I like that.
What was I saying? Oh,
Yeah.
so
Younger person.
explain to me a bit about the moment when you had the idea for the restaurant or the bar, and the steps that you took to actually execute. Because I think
It's a brilliant
that's
question,
the
yeah.
only thing that people
Brilliant
fear.
question. It's a brilliant question. It's two parts because I'm gonna let Lisa answer part of it. So, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've like George, I've owned, and overseas, I've ventured out. I feel that you are only as limited as you limit yourself, right? So what happened is after my 2 venues, I kind of stepped back from the nightlife, and really delved into my non-for-profit because that was where my heart was. I saw so much violence in certain communities, gun violence. So that really took me over for years. Then what happened was people kept saying, Bobby, we need you to reopen notes and this and that. I just, And then I met Lisa. Well, I know her sister very well. She's a good friend of mine. She goes, oh, my sister's thinking about opening. She's looking for venues. So I started helping her out to look.
Right.
As we got to know each other more, she says, oh, you know what? The issue I had with the spots that I owned was
Chef.
that exactly.
Me too.
And the chef can destroy your business or they can make your business. And the thing is, most chefs, you can get a chef to be invested in the business if they were actually invested in dollars.
Right.
So when I realized that she was as passionate and meticulous about the food, the taste, the flavor, the ingredients, it had to be fresh. And I was like, man, I like that. And I'm a foodie, so the more I got to see and understand, I said, you know what? Maybe I'm comfortable. I feel comfortable enough to retry.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that is always the story, and
Yes.
that's the way every restaurant I know ends. I'm going to shut my volume off because we're real professional here. They're sharing a mic.
We're trying to be professional. So, and I'll let Lisa pick up. So, before I hand over to her, and what happened is, so we were looking for venues, and I'm pretty well networked in the borough, so I made sure I tapped into friends and associates, and it was the idea. Lisa and I kicked around the idea, and we just started developing it. But Lisa, I'll let you take over.
We actually kind of have.
That was
a lot of the same-
Letitia walking in front of the camera. What the heck is that? Now say hello. I was just going on about our professionalism.
That was like
Whoa.
that's the most interesting video bomb that I've seen.
An accident done on purpose. Perfect.
That's interesting. I like that.
I just wish you were wearing a low-cut shirt. We would have got more views.
Would have been a spike, right?
We're nothing but professional over here in the body.
It's a fact.
HR.
You are HR.
Fair enough.
That's
Whatever.
interesting.
Whatever it takes.
All right, so back to the restaurant bar, and we'll kind of wrap it up after this. But go on about the
We
food.
actually think alike when it comes to certain ideas. Like I had specific ideas in my mind, and he actually had specific ideas in his mind. So he would say something like, "Yeah," and then I would add on it. So we kind of actually like when it even like comes to the design and everything, we basically have like the same ideas and concepts in our head. I just let him go off.
That's
more
rare,
on the,
actually.
I let him go off more on like the design part because. You know,
You care
I
about
have my
the
ideas.
creative.
You know, like I have the ideas, certain things, ideas. Like I know, like one of like the big things. I'm like everything's got to be comfortable. When you go into a place and you're sitting on like a little metal chair or like something that's wood and there's no cushions, I'm as somebody, I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
So otherwise, I'm like one and done.
Yeah.
So like we have, even our bar stools, everything is like we have nice high backed cushion, tough chairs.
One and done was a good way to say it. That's how fickle the restaurant industry is.
Yeah.
I always tell people, give a restaurant a second shot.
Yeah.
Because everyone can have a bad day, right? I've been in situations where, two of my staff didn't show up and my chef forgot to buy hamburgers in my hamburger restaurant. So I've been there,
People
Right.
are quick to
But
just call
if
it
you're
down.
having
Over.
if you're having a bad day, or like if like a restaurant or something is having a bad day, there should be something else there to make it better.
Right.
So even if like say your drink isn't mixed properly, or you don't think something came out hot enough, based on like the people that work there, the friendly attitudes and everything, because service is another thing that we're both very big
Yeah.
on. When I go into
everything.
a place,
You can fix a lot of damage with good service.
If you have bad
Good
service,
service is
you could have the
everything.
best food in the world. If you have bad service, people aren't coming back.
Yeah.
And if you have mediocre food, which you're not going to have,
No.
and great service, they're coming
They're gonna
back.
keep coming
Yeah.
back for more.
And I'm glad, George, you're laying emphasis on that. So That is something that, for me, if you're not going to do something right, then it's not worth doing. So we're putting our heart and everything into this. And I'm putting my experience on the ground, really dealing with, again, from having done the restaurant club taught me plenty. Because we were doing that to sort of promote, not sort of, but to actually promote the restaurants, but also to help them improve in service. So we would do surveys. Each restaurant crawl we did, we conducted surveys to get feedback. So that feedback for me allowed me to see, you know what I mean?
Data,
so, like,
man, data's everything.
critical.
Data's everything.
So, and that was something earlier on Lisa and I kept talking about, like in terms of quality. And when we go out to eat, it's like we look for that, you know.
Wow.
And I love traveling. So, when I travel, I go to eat, I look to see what's being offered and then what we don't have here. And
yeah, me too.
guarantee you that with our space, that it's going to be top notch in terms of service, because she and I will be present, and I intend to be around.
I'm glad you emphasized
huge
that
deal.
too,
Yes.
because
Yeah, that's
there's
also
there's a lot of people out there opening restaurants with $1 and a dream, and thinking they'll come Friday and pick up their check.
No.
They don't last. The ones that
gonna be
last
hard.
have the owners present.
I make the joke about having a Murphy,
Murphy
Murphy bed
bed.
in the office, or having a Murphy desk that could be
That's
pulled
not
down.
a bad idea. Don't make that a joke. You know how many times I slept in the basement of Dock Street?
yeah.
I can't even count, on a dirty, filthy couch next to a boiler.
Yeah, 'cause you got to do whatever you got to do to make. Listen, if you're not going to put your all, and that this is for you,
Right.
if you're not going to put your all into what you're doing, then don't do it. And that's what I say with building this place. And I have to caution myself sometimes, like with the concept and the development and the ideas. Sometimes I'm overkill, like with,
Too many ideas could kill you, yeah.
well, not necessarily too many ideas, but it's really wanting to overdo it. You gotta you got deep pockets, so you gotta you gotta constrict. So it's the same for you. Like when
Right.
you're gonna invest, you have to absolutely be mindful.
Be positive about a game plan.
Correct.
yeah,
And don't be afraid to ask those who've done it, because I find like a lot of young people don't want to get advice from
Right.
people who are in their network or family who might have had
Done it already,
experience.
right.
Very, very important. Even me at my age, like I was talking to Julian,
At
he's like,
25?
Bobby, yeah, 25, and I met my friend. He was like, listen, whatever you need, I got you. And I was like, thank you. I'm gonna take you up on that, because I still learn at this age. I know a lot, but I'm still keen on learning whatever I can.
That's key.
There's always somebody that may have information that could be very
sure.
insightful for you, because you could be doing something that could be doing great, and something that they say that might just add that extra, be like, you know what, that's a great idea, and you incorporate it, and it just takes it to another whole
Yeah.
level.
That's
Yeah.
a great way to put it too. Even the failures, even the people
yeah.
that just tanked because, again, I just say,
Especially the
you
failures.
learn,
Yeah,
man. That's
especially the
it.
failures.
I could tell you what not to do 10 times over in about 3 different industries right now. But so with that said, I mean, first of all, I guess we didn't even mention the name of the pub. So why don't you tell us the name and where it came from?
So
I think you have to answer that one, Bobby.
I can answer that. It was a collective. So what happened is we were kicking around a couple of names and ideas, and so Lisa was like, "Oh, what?" So O. Henry's is a English joke, like "Oh Henry, fetch me some water."
Yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
songs and there's and that rings to people. But interesting enough, her nephew's name is Henry. My son's name is Henry.
Oh,
Like my government name was Henry, so I had to legally change it when I ran for office. So all that connection, that's the.
so you did legally change it?
I did legally, yeah.
Oh.
I had to, because I've used the name for over 20 years, but then when I was gonna run for office, they were trying to use that to knock me off the ballot.
Yeah, I remember. I see people on social media like you're trying to hide something.
So,
It's funny.
So stupid, but it is what it is. Politics,
Fact, man.
right? They didn't want
Wow,
the best
politics is
candidate.
sweet. They don't do stuff like that.
No, they don't. No.
Wow.
No, we'll see in a couple of years what happens with my partner back down. So she's not even paying attention.
That's the one
Look.
that moonwalked behind.
I'm sorry.
All right, so
Say something about me.
Politics, borough president. Woo.
Oh, yeah, woo!
All right, so we are running long, so I'm going to wrap this up. I really appreciate you guys coming in and sharing your
pleasure
stories of
being
the
on
North
here.
Shore,
Yeah,
and I
fun.
hope we can have you back after you
course,
open.
yeah.
I want to see in month 3, how tired you guys are. Because I already know
I don't
how
get
tired.
tired.
The right makeup can cover any tired face.
And, hopefully, the soft opening, we get a phone call.
We definitely listen. For our soft opening, we absolutely want to make sure that we have the worst and best critics in the house, so that we can get, give it to us raw, give it to us, straight.
Being sweet don't help me
no,
grow.
not at all.
Yeah,
Not
nope.
at all.
In fact, something that I want to incorporate that you never see in a restaurant when they have a soft opening is to have survey cards on the table. I
love
what did we do well? What do you think needs improvement?
Yeah.
What's your opinions of the food? Like
When I had a
things like that.
restaurant in Kentucky, and not to interrupt you, I apologize.
okay.
When I lived out there, I worked for Toyota, but I bought a little sandwich shop, and we put in a video booth. It was an old phone booth that people could go in, hit the button, and tell us what they thought of the restaurant.
I like that.
With or without the
I
camera.
might steal that. Since he stole my restaurant crawl idea, I might steal that.
Yeah, you steal that. You take that.
That's a great idea. I like that.
Yeah, and it gives them an opportunity to be anonymous, right? Which, the surveys, sometimes they know the waitress is going to pick up the survey. So I always, in my head, was like,
we could always put a box or something where they could drop it in themselves, so they're not worried about like the waitress or
get the
somebody
raw,
taking
It's hard to get the raw.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say like a QR code, and then it would have formed. And boom, you just write.
Right.
Well, all right, you're young.
Please,
Your
please.
QR code and shit.
That's it. He's the future.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Future.
we appreciate you guys. Thanks for
Thank you
coming
so much
on.
for having
We're gonna
us.
have you back in month 3, and
This
everyone.
is fun. This is fun.
I'm good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and don't forget to keep looking for the next episode of VONSense, where we have no idea what we'll be doing. Thank you.
VONSense.